Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the DevOps Guide to Job Defensibility. My name is Inbar Yagor. I'm going to be moderating the panel today, and I'd like to welcome in all of our panelists. Panelists, come on in. Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Um, so I would love it if you all just introduced yourselves, who you are, what you do, what company you're from, all that fun stuff. I'm going to go on my screen. So Yoav, please go first.
Oh, that's what an honor. Thank you. So hello, everybody. My name is Yoav Ilovich. I'm Chief Product Officer and co-founder of a company called Datafy. We help DevOps practitioners better manage their cloud storage infrastructure. Um, this is actually my first iteration in kind of the DevOps space and building products aimed to help DevOps' life. In my previous companies, I've been a product executive for about 15 years. I've been in two very successful companies, kind of went from zero to $1 billion in sales and exits, and a few other notable failures as well. So got the whole thing and excited to be part of this panel. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Yoav. Brett, you're up next on my clockwise wall here, so say hello.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brett. I make courses and content on the internet. I'm a Docker captain, a cloud native ambassador, and you can find me just about on every platform. So I talk about DevOps, Kubernetes, Docker, anything cloud native. This year, obviously, is the year, I think, for all the discussions to be around AI for DevOps. So I'm excited to be here. It's perfect timing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brett. Tom, you're up next.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Tom Kerswell. I'm the CTO of CloudBridge, and we're an Amazon Web Services partner, so AWS partner. We do all kinds of different AWS consultancy and managed services. So, yeah, really interested to talk to everybody today on this, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Amazing. Kim, last and certainly not least.
Sure. Hello, my name is Kim. I'm the field CTO of Cast AI. Cast AI is started as a Kubernetes cost optimization platform. So we want to make the life of the DevOps easier and more cost efficient at the end, running platforms at a very low cost. This scope was extended over the last months and years. So we are not just focusing only on the Kubernetes autoscaling. We have a workload autoscaling. We are stepping into the Kubernetes security side, AI optimizations, and database optimization. So a big tool set we are handling. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to start with the most cheesy phrase ever, which is AI is everywhere. Let's be more basic. But in the DevOps space, AI and automation is really taking over, and so that's mostly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what it means to navigate the automation landscape today. We're going to talk a little bit about career development for DevOps and staying relevant with all these absolutely crazy changes. And we're going to hopefully do a little predicting, which never really comes out as we think, but it's always fun to do at the end, and kind of give our predictions for
No
what's next.
guarantees.
Yeah, no guarantees, exactly. Please don't hold us to it, although this is recorded. We'll see. And for everybody watching, this is a free form panel, right? So I'm going to ask a person a specific question, but everybody's going to jump in with their opinion, and the more lively, the better. Hopefully, there won't be any violence. Although that might make things interesting, we'll see. So let's start with our first question. Let's talk a little bit about automation and all of that fun stuff. So obviously AI and automation are taking over more and more tasks, but that doesn't mean that DevOps isn't still a really important function. So with all of these tasks getting taken over by automation, what core competencies should DevOps professionals focus on to maintain their career? So Brett, I'm gonna let you start with this.
Well, obviously, I think using AI in any way you can is, I think, like a first step, right? Even if you can't use it at work, it's surprising how much, at least right now with the tools we have, how much this is called the consumer AI that we all know as the LLMs that we like ChatGPT. Like the workflow for making those useful in a personal setting is actually pretty similar to, I think, the work settings. So I think just using it as step one. I'm not sure that's a controversial topic, but for me, if someone, especially young in their career, maybe a junior or a fresher, somebody just coming in and they're worried about AI taking their jobs. I mean, we think we all talk about that a lot, but learning how to automate, because largely I think the first wave of AI is going to be around automation, finding the things that the toil that we take forever to write a YAML, we take forever to write a Terraform, and it's going to speed that stuff up. But if you learn how to automate with the tools we have available today, I think the first wave is going to be us using the AI to help us automate anyway. So if you're just practicing that, learning new tools around that, we've got lots of new tools. And then specifically those tools that are kind of dipping their toes into AI, stuff like Dagger, K8s, Amazon Q Developer. There's stuff out there that can be used for the DevOps workflows that isn't just handing your work over to an AI. Because I feel like if it's just a product feature of some tool you're using and you just hand work over, there might be AIs running in the background, but if you're not working with the AI directly, if you're not writing the language like we're used to discussing things with a robot, then you're not really learning a lot. You're just that's just an automated product feature. So I'm always trying to get people's hands in it. Docker recently released Docker Model Runner, which allows you to run AIs locally, and MCP, which is tooling that if you don't know about, you can do all that locally on your computer. So even if you're not allowed to do this at work yet, play around at home, try some of these tools. I make videos about them now, and you'll get your feet, because you're still early. Like, I want to make sure that we're not giving anyone panic thinking that they're behind. We're all feeling behind, but the reality is we're still very early in this game. So anything you're reading and learning about AI for DevOps, weirdly, we just came back from KubeCon a month ago, 500 talks or something, one mentioned using AI for DevOps in the title or in the description, just one. So people aren't actually talking about using AI for DevOps yet. They're just talking mostly about us. How do we manage the AIs? How do we run the AIs? How do we manage the infrastructure that's running LLMs and inference and all that stuff? And that's a different conversation to me, because we're not necessarily going to be doing both at the same time. You might be running infrastructure with LLMs, but not actually using it. So it's a weird little place that we're in right now, where I'm specifically more interested in automating my job, going faster, building things faster, testing things faster as an infrastructure dev with AI. So.
And I would say to fully agree what Brad said. If we see all these forums in the internet, going to Reddit, a lot of posts are there. Oh my God, AI will kill my job. I don't believe this will happen. And I see it's the same story about automation kills my job. I'm doing this since years. I was acting as consultant for all these technologies for years, and I never saw that automation killed a job. What are we automating? We are automating at the end, boring tasks, the time-consuming tasks, the tasks we are doing again and again and again. And we want to automate these stuff to standardize processes, reduce the failure of the human component at the end there, and free up time for the really interesting stuff. That's why we are acting in these jobs. That's why we are DevOps. We want to test out new thing. I don't want to go with my DVD with a Linux installation into the data center, install for the next 5 days systems. I want to automate this. I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, we're doing cloud. We don't have to install operating systems anymore. But it's the same story. And it's the same with AI. A lot of people freak out and, oh my God, what will happen with us? And we also need to understand AI should just support us there. And also the AI is just as good as the information we give to the AI system.
Absolutely, and automation is hard to create. It's hard to create automation in DevOps in pipelines. So AI, using AI to produce that, to basically create those automations for you. We're using MCP as Brett mentioned. Those things are a real time saver. And then if you can do that, you can reuse that automation that you built in a kind of non-AI context almost. So you've kind of created some tooling there. So stuff like that is really powerful and saves time and keeps repaying itself again and again.
Awesome. So something that has that's coming up here quite a bit is AI is like any other automation, right? At the end of the day, it's just another tool, just like the wheel or just like, things we like, steam engines. That being said, automation itself, not necessarily AI, but automation in general, has taken up a pretty big space in the DevOps world lately. Whether it's AI run or not, I'm wondering if you can talk about examples of how automation is transforming the way DevOps teams are working, and how that's impacted dynamics, productivity, and that kind of thing. I'd love Yoav to start on that one.
Well, my perspective is more from the infrastructure automation part, and not necessarily AI as an automation tool. But
Yeah.
as a company that sells infrastructure automation and kind of streamlining for a lot of DevOps teams, we really see how freeing up handling the minutia of the infrastructure has really improved the dynamics and their ability to cater to, I would say, the more urgent and pressing needs of the business. A DevOps person once gave me the analogy, that they're running a water park and the infrastructure is the engine room, and he doesn't like to be stuck in the engine room. He likes to be, in the slides and fixing and maintaining everything and seeing the crowd enjoying it and kind of really serving the business. But he's bogged down in infrastructure, so he's stuck in the engine room and he can't see light of day. And he said, your automation kind of lets me surface, which I really love that analogy. And I think everything that we can automate, which has a very repetitive nature to it, which would allow them to focus on the more important things, to cater for the business units, for the developers themselves, and have a stronger and healthier relationship with their organization. I definitely have seen this happen a lot of times in the past, where if you free up that, you don't even have to do it a lot, just free up 5 or 10% of the time, and that's what they need to really step up their game and do what they need and like to do.
Anybody else have anything else to add on that? So let's talk a little bit about this. I wanna be on the water slides and not in the engine room kind of analogy, which I really love that Yoav brought in. So obviously, if things kind of end up being a little bit more flexible, and hopefully automation, infrastructure, AI or otherwise, frees up people's time, how do you see creativity and skill sets evolving in terms of the role of judgment and creativity in DevOps, and where do you see that going forward? Tom.
Hey, yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think there's a lot of areas where DevOps professionals are gonna be essential, even if we've got AI. So for me, I mean, the really obvious one is strategy. I'm really surprised how many people use AI tools to develop their own business strategy. So that's a great example. Now, in terms of DevOps, yeah, the kind of creativity piece, right? It actually, well, first of all, like, what are we actually putting into the pipeline? What are the feature sets we're building? All of those kind of things. That kind of holistic view of what is the product, what am I building? That isn't going to really be. You're not going to get good results or above average results if you purely rely on AI. So there's always going to be a role for really good DevOps people and really good creative people who are coding this stuff to do that. I think if you have a company that's purely building stuff based on a feature set and using AI to build the tooling, which you can do, you're not ever gonna end up with something great. And I think so for me, it's actually the human elements aren't going to go away, but AI is going to make people more efficient and more able to focus on the aspects that they're good at. So it's a positive, good thing. I don't think people are going to end up losing their jobs, but people are going to end up concentrating more on the bits where they really add value.
Yeah, a lot of the tickets, like if you think about what like a full-time DevOps engineer, if we're going to call that role a job, just pretend for a second that platform building or ticket management for new work and infrastructure space. I mean, a lot of the time that I spend is we understand like the end goal, and then we need to build something that's repeatable. Ideally, infrastructure as code. I hope we're all doing that now. And there's a lot of iteration there, right? So like if you take two humans and you have them build out any significantly sized infrastructure, it's going to be the infrastructure is going to be different there's going to be variation. So whatever I see variation between humans, I think, well, the AI is going to be different than me. It's going to build it differently than me. So I look at those, that's sort of the creative acts of DevOps, even though we don't look at YAML as that creative. You might structure your security groups different. You might right size your nodes differently, depending on whether you're a senior engineer or a junior engineer, or you prefer more smaller instances or fewer bigger instances. There's all sorts of variability, I feel like, in the space. And I think AI is going to be that as well. So we definitely have the need. The goal really, I think, isn't that we're all sitting around just reviewing PRs. I think I watched there was an AI conference on YouTube yesterday, and there was a topic where they were talking about, like, is this future where we're all just staring at PRs? And that's, to me, like a very bleak outlook of, I no longer get to do the fun part. I'm only reviewing whether or not the text generator is hallucinating again. And I hope that we don't end up there. Like, I still feel like we have command and control of these things for the foreseeable future. They still need to be guided. They're almost like little children. We have to keep them on the path. And I think there's definitely an art form to that is weirdly not as, like, it can actually be, as someone who's been doing DevOps for close to 30 years before we even had the term, it's like, there is something that can be quite frustrating with arguing with a computer that I have not experienced at different parts of my career. But I think that's the skill that we've got to get used to now, is learning how to guide these things down the path so that we're not wasting our time with them, that they're actually improving our workflows, getting us there faster. Because when I have to build out a brand new Kubernetes cluster on AWS or something, there's an iterative process to it. I'm not right the first time I try it. That's why we have plan, and we have all these different ideas and verbs for how do we test these things. And so I think that too, we didn't mention it earlier, but building out our own skill set around testing is going to be, I think, critically important as we bring on more AI, is learning how to know that the AI was right, not just by reading it, but by actually testing it. And a lot of DevOps teams that are a little bit immature is that they don't do a lot of testing. They just sort of one shot it. If it works in QA with humans, they think it's fine. But I think we're really going to have to get better at learning how to test all these things so that the AI can go do the work, and we can sit back and drink our coffee and watch it iterate on building an infrastructure, and then we know it works because of testing. So I think that is also a skill that I think humans are going to be uniquely good at. It might write the test, but we're gonna still need to look at those and figure out if they're worth anything or if they're valuable. And so I think there's a lot of creativity in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as people get more used to the tooling as well, I think there'll be a move to looking at the things that are completely repeatable and moving those away from AI and into an algorithm, if you like, because what you touched on there, but that kind of babysitting that you have to do with AI at the moment can be very time consuming and very frustrating, and you're not quite getting the results that you asked for, and you're adjusting the prompt. So actually the simple things, when you start to look at agentic AI and MCP, and basically be able to plug in the tools, that is where the power is. And then actually those tools often then they're actually doing something that's very predictable and programmatic and calling APIs. And so then you get that predictability again. Because one thing you don't really want is unpredictability in your DevOps pipeline. So, but AI can help you build those things more quickly.
And I also think it's very important that we understand that the last thing what we want to build are some black boxes. Nobody understands what it's doing. Magic happens. Nobody think about it. An AI system tell me the sky is red, and then I trust, okay, my AI say the sky is red. Yeah, must be red. It's true. So also these educational component, I think, is very important to having the right culture, having the right mindset, understanding. And we also need the humans. They understand what the system is doing. We need the humans. We understand the full ecosystem. We need to challenge our AI system. We need to challenge the idea what AI give us. Say, okay, this is the root cause. I would do X, Y, Z. We need somebody who's able to understand. Is it a good idea? Do we need to rethink it? Maybe could it be a disaster if we let AI just go there? So these are also challenges I see. Which should we, where we need to be very cautious, but doing things intelligent as we did the last years.
So I want to talk about this black box thing, right? Because I think that I'm seeing it a lot even in my very limited role um, uh, um, at Datafy, about talking to people who are in DevOps. Um, Costs are getting out of control. It seems like things are kind of spinning more and more, and there's a lot of like storage inflation, and that's why FinOps is becoming a more kind of a kind of bigger deal in the world, right? So there's a lot of different ways to attack storage costs. I don't want to get too much in the weeds of FinOps for this conversation, but I'm wondering, you know, what are the things that need to stay in human hands for this kind of sprawl craziness and black box not to get out of control, right? Um, maybe you have a.
Yeah, yeah. I, I think there are a few kind of ways to look at it. I think so. First of all, when I think about kind of AI and automation, I have to say that identify specifically, we don't have any AI that directly triggers an action. I mean, an AI can create your YAML or PR, like you said, right? And you might need to review it. But from our perspective, it is very, very important to ensure that every decision-making logic is actually purely deterministic, right? And it could be questions in retrospect, it could be investigated, because we have to remember that DevOps more often than not have to deal with an issue, right? With something irregular that happened that needs to be explained. That's a lot of the job. And it's hard to do that when those kind of black boxes exist and you have no idea what triggered what. So I have to say that first of all, it's very important to kind of have whatever resource you're trying to optimize, to have the policy that is optimizing it to be very clear cut, deterministic. You can get back to it. It's versioned, right? All these things that we're very used to as practitioners. And I have to say, we handle storage and infrastructure, and I think that's unsurprisingly a lot of the people in this panel have a lot of experience to it. I think that in today's ecosystem, the cloud vendors are the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and a lot of the margin is kept in their hands. And a lot of the complexity of the DevOps work is working with them, ensuring that you're optimizing how you use the resources they lease out to you. So, infrastructure optimization, storage to compute, the good old school tenets of DevOps, that is it. I mean, I know we want to think about all these kind of auxiliary things, and it's all true. I mean, I don't think anyone's wrong, but the back to the basics, that is still, I would say, probably 60 to 70% of spend across most companies. So deterministic kind of attributes with focusing on these resources, in my experience, yielded the best, cost reduction and optimization of usage without compromising, availability and uptime and all the important business-facing metrics. Inbar, you're muted.
Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm supposed to be the moderator here. How terrible. Does anybody else have anything else to add about black boxes and automation and visibility and that kind of thing?
I fully agree. What do you say? So the last thing what we want are black boxes. We want to have the control. We want to control what's happened, and we want to use these systems for a situation where the human cannot handle this. A good example, coming to this Kubernetes world. In Kubernetes, we have the possibility to automate a lot. Not all people follow these ideas. Starting with infrastructure, I can do manually size a cluster count of nodes, can do this by myself. Maybe it's not the best idea because then I need to babysit my cluster, need to observe them, need to check, okay, is the size good? Do I burning money? Is it too small? Running into an HA situation, which could be problematic for me because I don't have any spare capacity. So we need automation for this. We have solutions around there which are basic. They are able to can build these building blocks. I have a group there, and then all the time this group needs to scale. The same type of instance will be added. That's a very basic logic, but it's better than nothing. But what we really want is, what is the most efficient system in regards of saving money and having the right performance there? And using AWS as an example, AWS in Frankfurt, in the region, we have roughly 600 different instance types. No human is able to have the full overview, to know all the specs of each of these instance type, knows the prices, knows when should I use which instance for which use case. So what are the people doing? They know the standard flavors. I know, okay, there's M, there's C, there's R. That's enough. I will just use them. And Jeff Bezos understands this. They see, okay, this is what the people are doing because people are lazy. So we are increasing the prices for these instances months by months, make it a little bit more expensive, or the people will still use it. So we need an intelligent system which is able to understand, not just using always the same flavor. Let's check, okay, what is the current need of the workload? What are they asking for? What is the performance metrics we need to deliver? What is available right now? And for sure, what is the best price I can get? And bring dynamically in the right instance at the right time, instead of having building blocks that just scale, or worst case, somebody is doing this manually. And we have the same if we're looking for workload. How does these systems are working? Developers sitting there, I'm writing my code. I want that this workload is scheduled in a cluster. And then I need to tell the system how much resources does the application needs. How does people are defining this? It's like, let's try something. It's working. I will never touch it. So it's a risky situation. So you have two options. You give way more resources as the application really needs. The system will exclusively block them. No other workload can consume this. And we are burning a lot of money. Or vice versa, I give it too less. So I'm destabilizing my system. I'm running into these out of memory kills. I'm running into CPU throttling. So also this, do I want to have observability for this? Do I really want to sit there and observe all the usage and rethink every day what could be the right request? Or do I want to have a recommendation system which sends me every day 500 emails? Oh, cool, these are the workloads you should right size. And then I'm doing this, I'm patching my application, and the next day I get a new recommendation. Today it's a little bit different. Please do it again. This is all good examples for stuff we don't want to manage manually. We want an intelligent system which do this for us in a controlled way. Give them some guidelines. Say this is the rule set. Follow them, but don't disturb me on my daily basis.
Yeah, I think something we hear all the time is over provisioning or under provisioning. Either you're paying, 300% more than you should be paying just to be safe, or you're constantly in fear of getting, a pager 3 o'clock, well, not a pager anymore, the urgent phone call or Slack message at 3 o'clock in the morning because you under provisioned and now all your systems are crashing. So that's always fun. So definitely not having to deal with that feels like a good thing. So saying that, right? So that's a lot of what DevOps does, right? They put out fires, right? So let's assume putting out the fires gets mostly automated out. So where are the critical skills then that DevOps should maintain and should develop and should demonstrate to show their value? Brett, I'd love for you to take that if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I still think something interesting I heard yesterday was that a company that are basically experts at using AI and MCP for infrastructure at this point, which nobody's an expert, but they're one of the leaders, and talking about how even though we like this general idea of AI troubleshooting for us or understanding how to what's really going on in a complex system, because there's an art to that, right? That's when your senior engineers show their value, is how quickly they can recover from a complex failure. And it turns out that AIs aren't really great at reading Prometheus right now. So we don't really have. I mean, there's going to be somebody that's going to solve this, but we don't really have the ability for something to look at all the metrics, understand what those metrics mean in the context of other metrics, other logs, and figure out, oh, this is the core issue. Let me fix it for you. So I think that understanding your infrastructure, like we talked about, like being able to comprehend at least a portion of what's going on, and be able to have the experience, still understand networking, still understand how IP blocks work. Maybe we don't have to worry about binary to decimal translation or anything like that anymore, but we still need to understand the systems, because I think the AI, even in trying to figure out things and fix things, is still going to hallucinate. It's going to continue to do that, and we still need humans to figure out when it is and when it isn't. So the agentic, having the AIs argue, I think, is a really novel innovation that we've had in the last 6 months. We call that agentic, basically. But having the ability for different AIs to watch each other, or sub agents, there's all these terms that nobody really knows what they mean yet. But we're all trying to experiment, at least those of us that are like trying to push the envelope, trying to experiment with how these things could be deterministic. And I think just opening yourself up to the ability of, well, maybe the AI can help me do my CI workflow. Maybe it can help suggest tests for me inside of a PR that it can improve that PR. To an earlier question, I still think we're going to have humans for a very long time. We can't really fire the AIs yet. Can't really blame the AI to the customers yet. The customers won't tolerate AI as the excuse. We're still going to have humans to blame, which means there's still going to need to be someone to push the button for deploy or to commit the PR. And so it's going to be a while, I feel like, before we have AIs just committing all the code and committing all the changes to infrastructure, and then shooting out the infrastructure. And then when it breaks, the humans running in, it's all broken, and the AI is like, I don't care. I'm a robot. So I still think we're going to have a lot of people managing these things. There was a silly thing that happened at KubeCon. Quick story, 30 seconds. At KubeCon this year, I got to be a part of a media analyst panel, and I heard an analyst in Europe actually say the words humanless ops at an operations infrastructure conference of 12,000 people. So there are people out there, supposedly experts, that believe that like businesses are driving towards humanless infrastructure, humanless ops, and I find that concept, like, we're so far out from that, I can't even see it on the horizon. Like we're the pushing of the envelope every day with the AI models and stuff is so far away from us actually reducing the. I think we're going to end up with more DevOps people, because we're going to end up with more infrastructure, more code, more things to run. So we're going to need more infrastructure, more complexity, and that's going to drive more humans to automate the AI. So I right now I feel like this is all actually good for developers who want to get into DevOps, or people that are somewhere in IT pro area and that want to lean into DevOps, because this stuff, we are far away from figuring out how the AIs can self-automate all of this infrastructure and tooling and testing and troubleshooting and fixing. So
I think you summed it up when you said, people need somebody to blame, and there's always got to be somebody who's accountable and responsible. And going back to what Kim was saying about the role of FinOps, right? People, there are all these instance types, and people are kind of scared of having too small an instance if they're doing it manually. So they're going to err on the side of big stuff, because that's lower risk. Things aren't going to go wrong. So one kind of interesting effect of that, I think, is if people are scared to make big decisions, actually having the AI as a kind of second opinion is quite good. So, that idea of the dashboard with the AI saying, yeah, this looks good, and then the human still gets to make a decision and still gets to be accountable, but they've kind of got this extra confidence, and that kind of removes that idea of humans kind of getting scared and just going for the safe option. So hopefully it unlocks savings in terms of FinOps. It makes people able to move a bit more quickly because they're less kind of paralyzed by the risks and the worry. So that's a nice little side effect of using AI. It's just giving you a bit more confidence, hopefully.
Yeah, and also these, coming back to what Brett says, this idea of these humanless operations, it will come and iterates. We will, and I would say it will not be. We are not close there. And if we are stepping into these, or if we're going this way, what the next would be? We will have some AI systems which are in use for root cause analysis. Here's the big data lake. We put in all these data. Here are all my metrics, logs, traces, whatever. No human, or it's hard for human to understand this and debug it. So having a system which is crunching these data and then tell me, okay, it looks like this is the root cause. Do you agree? So we still need the human component, which knows. We have to train these systems. You say, yeah, this is the root cause. I've checked it. You're right, or no, that's totally wrong. check it again. And we will not have and then it takes iterate. Say, okay, now we are using the system for some root cause analysis. Maybe then we can allow the system, if it's trained, to say, okay, now you're allowed to fix these small incidents by yourself because we trust the system enough to let them go. And then continue this. Let's see where the journey ends. Because also there we want to step away from this reactive monitoring to also having some automation in place to fix these stuff. I don't want to be caught because a disk is full. Yeah, extended. I don't care. So it will come in the future, but I don't see it right now.
Yeah, I agree with my esteemed colleagues here. For me, it looks like an automation play like any other industry or any other tool that existed. I have a background in online marketing, and 15 years ago, it was really, really difficult, and there were scores of people who had to go every morning to their online marketing platform and configure CPCs and change campaigns and do a lot of kind of manual work to ensure that they're not paying too much, right? And within 5 years, this was completely automated by machine learning algorithms, not our current AI, but the previous iteration. And now no one does it. Everyone says auto bid or auto CPC or whatever the brand name that the online platform gave to it. And that's okay. It's just a thing that marketing professionals can now go and do other things. They're not less marketing professionals. They're just doing other stuff that's more important. And I think the calling of DevOps, which is ensuring that you have a solid infrastructure, that you're always paying the best bang for your buck. That is constant. That doesn't go away. And so I'm not. The challenges would shift, but there'll still be so much of them. So I really think that's the way to look at it as just another set of tools that would migrate us all into more interesting problems. Like Kim said, I don't want to expand this. Someone else, an automation tool to that. So I'll do other stuff that's interesting.
Thank you. I don't. We're kind of running towards the end of this, but I want to frame something that I think we started. The title of this is DevOps Guide to Job Defensibility, right? And one of the things that keep on coming up as more automation tools and more AI comes out is the higher ups are like, kind of look at all the people who are in the day-to-day weeds of this stuff and kind of ask, how are you adopting this? Why aren't you using this? Like there's this perception that AI or automation will fix all, and that can feel really kind of threatening to people who are trying to do their work, right? So I'd love to hear from you guys, ways to kind of manage up, show your value, demonstrate the importance of the human piece in all of this. I think there's always going to be need somebody to blame is a great one, but I don't think that's good for for the actual day-to-day DevOps engineers. So I'd love to hear from each of you, if you could quickly say, what is a good way to ensure your value, prove your value, and kind of manage up amongst all of these demands to innovate. Who wants to go first?
I'll take the first one real quick, because I think we're gonna have a lot of the similar ideas. I would say educate up. I think what's happening right now in IT management, at least the ones that I'm seeing, is they're getting a lot of information. They're getting a lot of signals that somehow AI is going to solve everything, and they're reading it in CIO magazine or whatever the kids read these days. And I think us telling stories about trying to use AI and it succeeding, or trying to use AI for certain workflows or workloads and it failing. And I think that we get excited about things when they work, but I think that it's really important to sort of tell your management the failures as well, because I think there's a significant hype cycle going on right now. It's kind of like the Kubernetes hype cycle that we've had over the last decade. Kubernetes doesn't solve every problem. It doesn't need to be run in every situation, but we're so excited about it that we kind of forgot to tell people when not to use it. So there is always hype to new technologies. I think this is no different. And giving a little bit of the education of, this is, I've read all the documents and I've tried all the ways, and this doesn't really work right now for blah. Right? And explain that to your management. It's going to give them because your management wants to look smart to their management. And so they're going to want to tell stories about how AI is working and is not working. They both want to show we are investing time in AI, but also we can't replace all the humans yet. So we're still fighting with it, struggling with it, and they need those stories. So feel free to share, not just to your colleagues, but to your management, even when it doesn't work the way you expect. So.
Yeah. I think that ability to tell stories and like basically to communicate clearly to management is so important. And I think especially when you talk about the hype cycle and everybody gets swept up in things and people jump into things without really understanding them. So becoming that, just like you said, that clear communicator who's able to cut through that, that's going to be so valuable in terms of your managers are going to love you for doing that. So I 100% agree with that. It's about clear communication, being able to tell stories and make things seem exciting as well, and be that kind of trusted person and not get swept up in stuff. Be able to say no as well, and above all, be clear. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, don't be nervous. Don't freak out. We have the same story each decade. Something new is coming. Everybody is nervous, but there are still people outside. They are developing Solaris kernels for some banking software. So it's not, the technologies are not dying today or tomorrow, and also not these ecosystem will not change that rapid that we say, okay, we have, I don't know, millions of DevOps people. Tomorrow we don't need you anymore. I agree with Brad said. We need to this education, understand the system, be the expert. Be the expert in your environment. Understand your core technologies. If there's AI in or not, to tell exactly what Brad said. Tell management, guys, this is not the right because here are the facts. I can show you that this is not the right one, and also I can show you where the solution is just wrong. So we are talking a lot about what is shiny and what is super. I think also this European culture is more as we're blaming direct. If somebody asking us what's give me the good or the bad stuff, most of the European are more here's the bad stuff, and the Americans are this is all good. So in this case, the European style could be helpful there, just pointing out what's not working well. This is also for me, if I'm on KubeCon or on tech conferences, the interesting talks are the talks where people blame technologies, say, and these are the 10 failures we realized. This is how you break your cluster. The true stories to learn from the pain from other people. This is what helps you, and this is the same for this technology. Don't freak out and be the expert.
I would actually want to, piggyback on top of everything that was said here, and I kind of take a bit of a different angle. And at least for me, it's being very open to the fact that the AI is either wrong or, like Brett said, just not the right tool for this job. And I think that it's a rapidly changing tool, of course, and it keeps on getting better. But it's not this super intelligence that would do it all, and it's very easy for us because of its conversational nature to assume it is. And I actually had a similar issue like Brett mentioned. I put in a big log from Prometheus, and I expected it to solve it for me automatically, and it didn't. And I fought with it for hours and hours and hours. And at the end of the day, after 6 hours, I came to the realization that I would have done it in 20 minutes with other traditional tools. And it was just wrong
Yeah.
to pursue it that long. And I could have done it a lot easier. But I could not convince myself that the AI doesn't know how to do it, right? That was kind of that's when that realization set with me. And I think we have to be very critical in how we evaluate it. If it doesn't work for us, go put it aside. We'll get back to it in 6 months or a new model or in a year or whatever. It's not, loom and gloom. AI will never do this, but it's not doing it now. And better to move on and get your job done than to be boggled with these AI experiments. It either works for you or it doesn't. If you have to work very, 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 very hard, it's probably not the right tool for this job. And I think that kind of internal realization of it being not all-encompassing, but just another tool in our toolbox, I think that is something that for me was very difficult, and I really tried to help others with that realization.
Well said. I'm gonna do a quick reference here. I wish I knew who to credit, but somebody wrote about the fact that every company has a dude named Bob who sits in the basement, who's been at the company since its founding. And like, if something goes wrong, he remembers that somebody accidentally spilled grape juice on a hard drive during a Christmas party 3 years ago, and that's probably why this thing is glitching out right now, right? There's always going to need to be a Bob, right? And so I think that that's something that people really do kind of forget, right? Like, these are tools. This is not, this doesn't replace the human mind and the way that we comprehend things. Cool. So we're gonna wrap up. Any closing thoughts from anybody? Anybody else want to takeaways from today's discussion?
If you're excited about this stuff, great. I've got a whole podcast for coming out called Agentic DevOps. That's a plug, but like, we're trying to chart and talk about this kind of stuff ongoing. There's several other podcasts that are starting to do that, specifically in the infrastructure space. But if you're not ready to play with this stuff yet, a controversial opinion is that that's totally fine. It may turn out that all of this stuff that we're all trying, that we're experimenting and we're trying to get the AI to do certain things, it may turn out that in a couple of years we've really got some solid, predictable outcomes that we know AI works for, and that you can just then pick those up and run with them. And you may not need to spend a whole bunch of extra time beating your head against the wall, essentially, with AI, trying to get it to do certain things. That's a different take. Some people might say, oh, you're going to fall behind, or you want to stay you're, with your career, you want to keep up on the bleeding edge. Or you could just listen casually to what's going on and other people are doing it, and sort of use your own barometer for, okay, now suddenly 10% of the talks at the conference I'm going to are all about using AI for infrastructure. Like, maybe that's a barometer that you go, oh, okay, well, now is the time I should jump in and start learning, because I still feel like we're very early in this cycle, and I don't want anybody to sort of go thinking that they have to spend all their time learning the AI tools. You might be able to just sit back, casually pay attention, wait for the marker where you actually see it being used day to day by other infrastructure people, platform engineers, stuff like that. And that we have common sets of tools and vernacular. We even know how to talk about this stuff, because I think that's part of the challenge is we have a hard time talking about it because we use different terms for the different things. So you could just sit back. It might be okay, and you could just wait.
I would say you can step back and just watch it, but you should watch it. You should not ignore it, because this could create a problem in the future. There is no need that you say, okay, all my free time should be invested to learn all these, be the AI expert and be in all the topics in. But you should observe it. Let's say there's a conference, there's a talk. Just listen to this. Understand, okay, what are they doing there? Does it make sense? Maybe yes, maybe not for yourself. But I would not ignore it, because this could create a problem in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Don't be a hater.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a lot of consultancy and a lot of consultancy on AI. And just thinking back to maybe a year, even 18 months ago, everybody was coming to us and saying, like, we have a remit to use AI, or we want to use AI. What here's some money. What can we do with it? And so people coming up, the kind of question, the answer was use AI. Not an actual business problem they wanted to solve. I think things have changed recently. I think people are now much more familiar with AI, and they understand what are the things that it would actually add value to. And people are coming to us now and saying, we've got this problem, how can we solve it? And so for me, it's echoing what Brett said as well. It's about being aware of all these tools and being aware of AI, and just thinking of it as another tool that when you've got a really good use case, you can consider, is AI going to be the right use case, the right answer for this? Or maybe some other automation that isn't AI will just do it very easily. So it's just having that as an option, but definitely not making it the be all and end all.
Okay, this was absolutely fantastic, guys. I think it was a great conversation. You can tell it's a good conversation. I didn't check my question list even once during the whole thing. So I really, really appreciate you all taking an active part of this. I hope everybody watching found this valuable. Thank you so, so much for your time. Um, I guess everybody can. Brett, you want to plug your podcast really quickly?
Yeah, it's coming soon to a podcast player near you, Agentic DevOps. Look that one up. It doesn't exist yet, but the episodes are recorded. We're just working on the finals of that. So that's a new podcast. Or just search my name and you'll find a bunch of podcasts and YouTubes and stuff. So.
And you have Kim and Tom. I'm assuming we can find you all on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn if you're interested in storage optimization or infrastructure optimization in general. So Datafy.io and myself. Kim, I let you do the same.
Sure. Found me on LinkedIn, or if you're interested on Kubernetes optimization and Kubernetes automation, Cast AI. We're happy to help you.
Absolutely. And for us, you can find us on cloud-bridge.co.uk. But we're very up for we basically do AWS consultancy and managed services. So we're very up for doing kind of free discovery using the funding that AWS gives us. So any kind of interest in projects that you've got that might involve cloud, give us a shout and we'll hopefully be able to do some work for you for free to get started.
Amazing. Thank you all, everybody. Thanks everybody for watching. Well, hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
I don't know if we're still. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we can all hang up at this point, I guess, to something. Thank you all so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you found this valuable. It was a pleasure. Truly.
Yeah.
Was fun.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
Thanks
so
so
much.
much. Great questions and really enjoyed it. Cheers,
Thanks.
guys. Talk soon.
Bye, everyone.